ADR. Promoting dialogue. It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 o'clock in Abuja. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa, the Democracy Radio broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Côte d'Ivoire's Constitutional Council announces final list of presidential candidates, excluding former President Gbagbo and other opposition figures. Resident doctors of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory begin 7-day warning strike over unpaid salaries, manpower.
They refuse to pay the 13-month allowance arrears. We are getting demoralized now. We can't continue to work in this pattern. So we have to do the needful. And the needful is what we're doing this morning for 7 days. We keep doing, one doctor does the job of 5 to 6 doctors.
Reaction trails Senegalese President Diomaye Faye's first cabinet reshuffle.
For me, it's not really the change that many people were expecting. I think it's a kind of correction of the wrong that many people were mentioning in the past. For instance, everybody was saying that the Minister of Foreign Affairs is not performing.
West Africa College of Physicians urges stronger intersectoral collaboration to tackle regional health challenges. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
We are glad you have joined our broadcast this evening. We begin in Côte d'Ivoire, where the Constitutional Council has announced the final list of candidates for the upcoming presidential election, scheduled for October 25, 2025. The announcement was made this Monday by the President of the Constitutional Council, Chanta Kamara Nanaba. Notably, the list does not include prominent opposition leaders, such as former President Laurent Gbagbo, Tidjane Cham and Pascal Affi N'Guessan, among others. The council received application files from the Independent Electoral Commission on August 29, following the candidate submission deadlines of August 26, 2025. Imo Edit has the details.
The latest announcement revealed that the candidacies of current President Alassane Ouattara, former Minister of Commerce Jean-Louis Bion from the Democratic Congress Code, former First Lady Yvette Simone Gbagbo of the Capable Generations Movement (MGC), and Ahua Donmelo Jacob, an independent candidate, have been accepted. However, the Constitutional Council denied the candidacies of several notable opposition figures. These include Pascal Affi N'Guessan, the president of the Ivorian Popular Front (FPI), whose application was declared inadmissible due to duplicate sponsorships across multiple lists and a shortfall of 20,504 sponsorships. Tidjane Cham, the president of the Democratic Party of Côte d'Ivoire (PDCI), also saw his candidacy rejected because he failed to register on the electoral roll, which is a requirement for eligibility. Former President Laurent Gbagbo's candidacy was similarly rejected by the Constitutional Council for not being registered on the electoral roll. The PPACI argued that Mr. Gbagbo's conviction for robbing the BCL was irregular, as he should have been tried by the High Court of Justice in connection with his official duties. This request was denied by the Electoral Council. Additionally, Pastor Wilfred Amogozuhi and Antoine Asale Tiemoko of the Alliance for Democratic and Changes, as well as the former prefect of Abidjan, Vincent Toby, an independent candidate, were also excluded from the final list due to insufficient sponsorship. Meanwhile, a separate note, the opposition has labeled the candidacy of outgoing President Alassane Ouattara, the ruling RHDP candidate, who is seeking a fourth term, as unconstitutional.
Imo Edit with that to report. Here in Senegal, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's first cabinet reshuffle is drawing mixed political reactions. During the weekend, the president signed a decree making significant changes, bringing in new faces and reassigning key portfolios. 3 ministers, including those in charge of Interior, Justice and Culture, were removed, while the reshuffle introduces figures from across the legal, diplomatic. Opinions differ on the political scene. The opposition denounces duality at the top of the state, while members of the ruling party expressed their satisfaction. Christopher Aticho tells us more in this report.
According to Zara Iyanchiam, the former minister under Macky Sall, the government reshuffle was predictable. He maintains that the changes made to the Ministry of the Interior and Justice prompted a reaction from the Member of Parliament appointed by Amadou Ba.
The first fact is that the President of the Republic fully acknowledges that there is a duality at the top of the state. The second lesson is that the individuals who have been chosen, particularly to lead the Ministry of Justice, the Minister of the Interior, among others, are presumed to be more malleable to finalize the political settling of scores that we have seen. In this first month of office, we have felt that there is this desire to manipulate, to instrumentalize justice for the purposes of political settling of scores.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament El Haj Game of the ruling party PASTEF has a different interpretation of this new government. According to him, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has addressed the concerns of the Senegalese people.
The letter we have from this new government is that it is a continuation of the initial project. That is to say, a reshuffle that extends the project of rupture, but with a more stable and mature image. This simply constitutes a redistribution of portfolios to maintain cohesion within the executive, but also to respond to the needs of the population.
The new team is being established at a time when Senegal is facing a difficult economic situation on one hand, and voices are being raised demanding justice in memory of those killed during the political protest from 2021 to 2024, among other concerns.
Christopher Teacher reporting there. Elsewhere, Gambia's President Adama Barrow receives highest honor of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau in recognition of his significant role in strengthening the bilateral Gambia-Guinea-Bissau relations. Upon his arrival in Bissau earlier today, President Barrow was decorated with the Amilcar Cabral Medal, the most important state honor in the Republic of Guinea-Bissau. In bestowing the insignia, Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoko Embalo highlighted the strong bond and common history of both countries transcending the colonial boundaries. Meanwhile, the Gambian leader dedicated the honor to the people of the Gambia, whom he said remain committed to the ideals of unity and friendship of the people of Bissau. President Adama Barrow is currently on a 2-day state visit to Guinea-Bissau, which concludes on Tuesday, September 9, 2025.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's now take you to Nigeria, where the Association of Resident Doctors within the Federal Capital Territory has commenced its 7-day warning strike, known as the ARDFCT. Its president, Dr. George Ibon, made the announcement in Abuja, saying the decision for resolutions reached at the end of its emergency general meeting held on Friday, September 5. Here is an excerpt of Dr. George Ibon, the president of the Association of Resident Doctors Abuja chapter, speaking at a press conference earlier today.
Some have not been paid for 7 months, 8 months. According to a snake bite like 2 years ago in Abaji, a nurse, right? And then we have some that had snake bites and we don't even have antivenom. And we're saying that we need our working conditions to be better. They still refuse to listen. They have refused to employ. They have refused to pay. They have refused to promote. They have refused to skip. They have refused to convert our fellow colleagues who have passed part 2. They've refused to pay the 13-month allowance arrears. We are getting demoralized now. We can't continue to work in this pattern. If we continue to work in this pattern, none of us are going to be alive anymore. So we have to do the needful. And the needful is what we're doing this morning for 7 days. Let me start by saying that for a long time, we haven't had employment in FCTA since 2011. Those that retired have not been replaced. Those that have left the country, the Japa syndrome, have not been replaced. Those that died have not been replaced. We keep doing, one doctor does the job of 5 to 6 doctors. A doctor will see up to 30 to 40 patients, and then he or she is going to go and do a call for another 2 days.
Dr. George Ibon is the president of the Association of Resident Doctors Abuja chapter. Still in Nigeria, 8 people were killed and at least 20 others injured in the bandit attack on the village of Wake, located in the Kashia local government area of southern Kaduna State. The attack occurred in the early hours of Sunday, leaving the community in mourning state. It is part of a growing wave of violence that continues to devastate communities across the region. WADR's Usma Umar reports.
Eyewitnesses say the gunmen killed 8 people, left more than 20 others wounded, and abducted an unspecified number of villagers. Community members conducted hurried burials for the dead, while volunteers struggled to provide care for those critically injured. As of the time of filing this report, the Kaduna State Police Command has not issued any official statement. This attack is the latest in a string of assaults that have plagued southern Kaduna. Just 2 weeks ago, bandits killed several people and injured 8 others in nearby Kajuru local government area. In previous years, mass killings in Ongwon-Wakili, Runji and Kagoro claimed dozens of lives and displaced thousands of families. Security analysts warn that repeated raids have devastated the local economy as farming and trade are disrupted and the residents flee their homes in fear. Humanitarian agencies also report rising displacement, food shortages and limited access to healthcare and education across affected communities. Local leaders are calling on authorities to step up security and address the root causes of the violence as residents remain trapped in cycles of grief and uncertainty. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Let's turn to the Central Sahel region, specifically Burkina Faso, where a lawyer is currently in custody following her arrest over a social media post. Antonin Inin Benjamin Esther Dolly is facing charges of treason, insulting the head of state, and demoralizing the armed forces after a series of posts in which she criticized the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. In her latest Facebook post dated August 21, Antonin Inin Benjamin Esther Dolly denounces the practice of extrajudicial arrests in Burkina Faso. She stated, and I quote, "The late Thomas Sankara launched his revolution, but we are witnessing horrific events today. At least the replacing of justice system and brutalizing his people," and of court. Still in the Sahel, specifically in Mali, the National Army has launched a major operation in the Kayets and Nioro du Sahel regions, targeting armed groups linked to terrorism. According to the military, several fighters were neutralized, key strongholds destroyed, and equipment seized in the towns of Djerma and Nioro following days of surveillance. The offensive camps as JNIM, an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group, has blocked roads near the Senegalese and Mauritanian borders, setting fire to fuel tankers and buses in Kayes, Segu, and the Sikasso area. Several passengers were reportedly kidnapped, but 6 Senegalese truck drivers have since been released. The army says operations are ongoing to restore security nationwide. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Cote d'Ivoire's Constitutional Council announces a final list of presidential candidates, excluding former President Gbagbo and other opposition figures. Resident doctors of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory begin 7-day warning strike over unpaid salaries and manpower shortages. Reaction trails the Senegalese President Diomaye Faye's first cabinet reshuffle. West Africa College of Physicians urges a stronger intersectoral collaboration to tackle regional health challenges. We also have guest interview and sports news ahead. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for being with us. We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Let's now take you to the Liberian capital, Monrovia, where the West Africa College of Physicians met and called for greater intersectoral collaboration to tackle the ongoing health challenges within the West African sub-region. This call was highlighted during the 9th Annual General and Scientific Meeting held with the theme, a closer look at the health system, inter-sectoral collaboration for improving health indicators. The conference gathered leading medical experts from across West Africa to discuss the systemic issues that are hindering progress within healthcare institutions. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
The chairperson of the West African College of Physicians Liberia chapter, Dr. Musu Duweko, emphasized the urgent need to revitalize Liberia's healthcare system, highlighting alarming maternal mortality rates that remain the highest in the region. She pointed out the ongoing struggle to reduce newborn and under 5 mortality rates despite the commitment of frontline health workers.
Our sub-theme, rebranding and reinvesting in primary health care, calls us to action. We know the numbers, we've seen the gaps, but this meeting is about solutions. Investing in frontline services and ensuring that every mother and every newborn has access to quality care. There are mothers who didn't make it, children who never reached their 5th birthday.
Additionally, the World Health Organization country representative to Liberia, Dr. Olushayo Olu, delivered a keynote address stressing the fundamental importance of primary health care. He urged members to address issues within the sector and advocate for policies that prioritize preventive care and community-based health initiatives.
It's time for Africa. It's unfortunate, it saddens me when I see our children, when I see them die of benefits and dehydration. When I hear that a pregnant woman who is giving birth have died because of cannot care.
Founded in 1976, the West African College of Physicians is dedicated to upholding professional standards, ethics, and training within the medical field across West Africa. The organization provides a platform for member countries to strengthen ties and collaborate on solutions to the pervasive health challenges facing the region. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Elsewhere, African leaders are currently gathered in Ethiopia for the second edition of the Africa Climate Summit, which runs from September 8 to the 10th, 2025. It has been held under the theme, Accelerating Global Climate Solutions, Financing for Africa's Resilient and Green Development. Powered by the African Union, the summit is a defining moment to implement Africa-led solutions in green and renewable energy adaptation, natural-based resilience, while unlocking a fair climate finance in the global climate financing architecture. Speaking at the pre-summit press conference, Ethiopia's Minister of Planning and Development, who also serves as national coordinator of the summit, Dr. Fitsum Asifa, shared with the media the key deliverables of the summit.
First, showcasing Africa-led solutions in renewable energy, adaptation, green growth, and nature-based resilience. And 2, unlocking climate finance by pushing for fair, predictable, and scaled-up resources for Africa's priorities. The summit is expected to deliver several major outcomes. The first one is the adopted Addis Ababa Declaration, presenting a unified African voices ahead of COP30 in Brazil and beyond. A strong call for a global finance reform and grant-based finance flow and investment commitment to accelerate Africa's resilient and green development is another expected outcome. Stronger partnerships between innovators and investors, ensuring that African solutions receive the global backing they deserve. Most importantly, the unified voice of Africa and global influence and leadership is another outcome. And finally, the flagship report of the African countries and organizations is also another expected outcome of the second African Climate Summit.
Ethiopia's Minister of Planning and Development, Dr. Fitsum Asifa.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is The Guest.
For our guest interview segment this evening, we remain in Senegal as President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's first cabinet reshuffle is drawing mixed political reactions. During the weekend, the president signed a decree making significant changes, bringing in new faces and reassigning key portfolios. 3 ministers, including those in charge of Interior, Justice and Culture, were removed. To help us unpack what this reshuffle could mean for governance and political stability in Senegal, we are joined by Ibrahima Khan, an expert on AU governance.
I remember when the Prime Minister went, on live with this in the social media, talking about the fact that this government is not performing, is not doing anything. One would have thought that there will be, a complete change in the management of this government. At the end, we had 3 main changes. One, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is no longer there. He has moved to the position of Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice left the government, as well as the Minister of Internal Affairs, who is now replaced by a former lawyer. And then you have small changes here and there, like a very vocal member of the parliament. He's now Minister, I think, in charge of tourism and so and so. So these are the big changes. But for me, it's not really the change that many people were expecting. I think it's a kind of correction of the wrong that many people were mentioning in the past. For instance, everybody was saying that the Minister of Foreign Affairs is not performing. Now, she is replaced by a retired diplomat who really ended his tenure as the representative of Senegal at the UN. So he knows very well international affairs.
You earlier stated that the changes were not the expectations of the Senegalese people. Would you mind clarifying what do you mean that these changes are not the expectations of the people?
Because I was talking about foreign affairs, let me give you some element when it's come to foreign affairs. The name of the ministry was changed. Well, we have changed the name, but nothing has changed in terms of relationship. Senegal is still struggling in its relationship with Mauritania, is still struggling with its relationship with Mali, and people expected that Senegal to be really an important actor in West Africa in terms of relationship within ECOWAS. It didn't happen. In terms of former relationship, the relationship with France was something that people were looking at. Has it changed? I don't think so. It has changed a lot. The second one was about the justice system. If you recall, when the president came to power, the first act was to convene a very big meeting on the reform of the justice system. A meeting took place. The conclusion of the meeting was shared with the president, and people are still waiting for, after 1 year, people are still waiting for the legislation that needs to be enacted to, at least to be presented first at the parliament and to be adopted for the changes at the judiciary. And when it comes to the other aspect of the Senegalese life, the economic aspect and other aspects, nothing has changed too much.
Given the current or existing challenges Senegal is facing, would you think that this reshuffle will provide any positive result for the government's fight against injustice, for the government's fight to ensuring financial balances, and also providing sustainable and equitable jobs for the young people or the Senegalese people?
Well, what we have noticed is that there was no change in the leadership in the economic sector and the trade sector. That can be a good signal to international institutions that are negotiating now with Senegal. In the justice sector, the problem is many crimes were committed. The time of justice is not the time of politicians. You can arrest somebody, but the time you arrest somebody and the time you indict the person and the time you sentence the person, it can take many years.
Ibrahima Khan is an AU governance expert. Now, Christopher Aticho joins me with the latest in the world of sports. Good evening, Chris.
Augustine, good evening. How are you?
I'm okay. What's happening in the world of sports?
Well, in the world of sports, we now know that Tunisia have officially joined Morocco to secure their tickets to the 2026 FIFA World Cup after a 1-0 victory over Equatorial Guinea today. Now, the result actually confirms that Tunisia's place in the North America with 2 qualifiers still to play. So they still have 2 qualifiers still to play. And sitting comfortably at the top of Group H, Tunisia have 22 points at the moment from 8 games so far played, and 10 ahead of second placed Namibia, who also hold a game at hand. And let me bring you result of today's games as well. As today, Zambia lost 2-0 to Morocco, as Zimbabwe also picked up 2-0 victory over Botswana. Equatorial Guinea lost 1-0 to Tunisia, and then Guinea-Bissau won 2-0 over Djibouti. Uganda were in action, and then they picked up a 3 points over Somalia by defeating them 2-0 to 0. Also, Guinea-Bissau and Algeria clashed, and then it was a 0-0 draw. Liberia took on Malawi, and it was a 2 goals apiece for each other. And then Madagascar, after their impressive performance from Chan, actually won their game over Chad, 3-1 in that particular encounter. Libya also will be playing tonight as well, and then Ghana would also be playing this evening. And let me bring you a quick snapshot of how the group standings are actually faring at the moment. Particularly, as it is not so good for Ghana, because after Madagascar's win over Chad, they have actually moved second place on the table with 16 points, just as Ghana. And so a win for Ghana today would be very important for the country, but a lose for them would mean that Madagascar would go all the way to Group I, on top of that particular Group I as well. Again, Nigeria would also be in action tomorrow, and then Nigeria will be taking on, I think tonight, Nigeria will be taking on South Africa, and then we'll also see how that game would fare as well.
And Nigeria has a major injury with Victor Osimhen. I hope that it has been handled. If not, it could be a major blow, because he's a key player for the Super Eagles.
Definitely. And on Group C as well, South Africa is on top of that particular group, and so if Nigeria even wins that particular game, they will come they will come next to South Africa in that game. But of course, we all want to see Nigeria in the World Cup as well. Senegal is also sitting in Group B, second place ahead of DRC.
Yeah. Let's keep following. Thank you, Chris, for the latest in the world of sports. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and special thanks to Falilu Sow and Ismaila Kamara for the technical support. Connect with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.